I respect Crawford. He's a great fighter, and I always say that no disrespect him, but sometimes it's a little crazy the people talking about.
Canelo Alvarez's speed and punching power may scare some fighters, but not Terence Crawford, who is fired back at the Mexican world champion, not to give excuses for him but to get in the ring with him. Crawford is absolutely sure he'd get the win over the Mexican superstar if the two fought, and he has warned him not to talk about who gets the credit but should make the bold move.
For both of us, I believe.
Any doubt in your mind that you beat him?
Of course I beat him. It ain't no doubt in my mind that I won't beat anybody that
It has been reported this week that the fight between the pound-for-pound stars has been agreed upon and will take place in September, although it is still being speculated that it could actually happen in May instead. Riyadh Seasons Turki Alalshik has been at the forefront of negotiations between both fighters' teams as he looks to finalize one of the biggest fights in boxing history. Canelo was said to be initially hesitant in taking a fight against the 37-year-old from Omaha, but it appears the Mexican icon has changed his mind and is now gearing up for his latest challenge.
A small fighter like Charlo, he's big, which he is big, and everybody's talking about if I'm gonna face Crawford.
Speaking on the fight during an interview with a reputable boxing platform, the 34-year-old admitted he was in for the clash with Bud, admitting he won't get any credit. "I admire Crawford, he's a great fighter. I always say that, no disrespect to him. Sometimes it's a little crazy that people talk about a small fighter like Charlo, who is big, and then everybody is talking about if I'm going to face Crawford, a fighter at 147 who is smaller than Charlo. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. But you guys say that right now. At the end of the day, I won't have any if I face Crawford. But you never know. You never know in fighting. I go up, pan down and fight everybody out there. So it's possible. Why not? It's possible."
Fighter 147 who is smaller than Charlo. So no make sense when you guys say.
This was almost a repeat of an interview he had earlier where he said, "I'm in. Why not? I think Crawford, don't get me wrong, he's a great fighter, but for me, in my weight class, it's an easy fight for me, easy money. If the money is right, I'm in because, I don't like to fight guys like Crawford because he moves a lot, and the fight is not that great. I saw Crawford in the last fight, and he doesn't move that much now, so yeah, if the money is right, I'm in."
First, what did you think of his performance versus Berlanga?
I think he put on a great performance, like he always do. Canelo is Canelo.
"I've been wanting the fight. It's a landmark fight. It's the biggest fight in boxing today. I feel like the fight is the last of the Mexicans. I think the fight would be huge. You've got two guys who are top 3 pound-for-pound going head-to-head together. I know Canelo is bigger than me, but I'm up for the fight. It's all respect, and if he does decide to come my way and we get in the ring, then it would be an exciting fight."
I think Berlanga put on a tremendous show as well. He showed a lot of heart and grit and determination as well, and that made for a great fight.
If it does go down, Crawford admits he'll have some challenges. He said he will certainly have to be aware of Canelo's size and power, but he told me, "I've been fighting bigger guys my whole life, and he's sure he'll come away with a win. Of course I'll beat him." The 41st Zirar said, "There is no question in my mind that I wouldn't beat anyone I step in the ring with."
Come my way and me and him get in the ring, then it'll be an electrifying fight.
What makes a potential Canelo-Crawford fight particularly poignant is the fact that each man's Hall of Fame-worthy career is likely winding down. The 34-year-old Canelo has literally been fighting professionally for nearly 20 years, earning an eyebrow-raising record of February 2nd 60 to some of those fights, especially his too controversial battles with Gennady Golovkin, have unquestionably led to some wear and tear. As for Crawford, at 37 years of age, he's not getting any younger, with a considerable 41 fights under his belt. Suffice to say, the man has never lost in the ring, seen through a certain lens. A Canelo-Crawford match makes a considerable amount of sense for it, with wondering what mountains are left for each man to climb.
It won't be like any other fight that he's fought recently, and It'd be a well-fought fight.
Both know what it's like to be an undisputed champion in an age when there are far too few undisputed champions to be found. Each fighter also knows what it's like to fight under the bright lights. Canelo has been in numerous real super fights against Golovkin and Floyd Mayweather, respectively, while Crawford finally appeared in his first super fight back in 2023 when he crushed fellow welterweight Titlis Errol Spence in 9 rounds of one-sided combat. Should this fight be signed and made official, it's understandable that Canelo, at least early on, will be the considerable favorite. He's been fighting at super middleweight, after all, while Crawford has just recently made the jump in weight up to junior middleweight.
Right now, at the end of the day, I don't want to have credit to face Crawford, but you never.
Surprisingly, however, Crawford is the bigger of the two, albeit slightly. He's also known to adapt well to any setting. What's more, he possesses extraordinary confidence. In other words, Crawford likely won't see this as an underdog story. He'll see it as a fight requiring seriousness, focus, and an effective game plan. Crawford, finally, is a practical-minded man. Then again, so is Canelo, and Canelo has the power to hurt Turkey. Alashik, an avid boxing fan, stated that by 2025 he will bring several world-class fights. But the jewel in the crown could be the long-awaited fight between Saul Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, which could be in the works for September.
You never know in boxing. I'll go up and down and fight everybody out there. So it's possible. Why not?
Both fighters spoke from a Alashik radar during a meeting in London last week, and it seems that they would have started the bargaining points for the long-awaited fight between two of the best pound-for-pound fighters today. The fight is planned to take place on the weekend of the events for Mexico's Independence Day in mid-September. ESPN reported. ESPN boxing expert Mike Coppinger noted that from what I'm told, they're in the process of finalizing a deal for a fight in September, Mexican Independence Day weekend, and it will be in Las Vegas with the 68 pounds weight limit and no rehydration clause.
What do you think about Terence Crawford calling out Canelo?
You know, I don't like that fight.
Why not?
I don't like that fight.
However, there is one issue to be defined, and that is that Crawford would require an extra 14 pounds weight jump to match the weight and category of the Mexican fighter. Canelo has been going up in weight over the years after starting out at super welterweight, where he won the World Boxing Council world title and later became the unified middleweight champion. He made a short stop at light heavyweight and defeated Sergey Kovalev to win the International Boxing Federation belt before dropping down to super middleweight, where he would become the first undisputed 4-belt champion. Former heavyweight champion Mike Tyson quickly spoke out about the possibility of a fight between Canelo and Crawford and disagreed with such a fight, especially because of the aforementioned weight difference between the two fighters.
Too much weight, you know, and he had a close fight with the last guy he fought, Terence, because this guy.
You know, I don't like that fight. I don't like that fight for him. The weight difference seemed quite annoying. It's a lot of weight, Tyson said. And to reaffirm his statement, Tyson recalled the fight between Crawford and Israel Madrimov in August 2024, when Crawford ruled as welterweight champion and moved up to 154 pounds. The fight went to a decision, something that has happened very little since 2016. But now Crawford would have to move up to weight classes to fight Canelo, so in Tyson's eyes he shouldn't be facing that guy. Former 4-division title holder Mikey Garcia said he disapproves of a possible super middleweight clash between Saul Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford.
I'm not a fan of that fight. They're too many weight classes apart. And although the skills, Crawford is one of the best fighters that I've seen.
Crawford, who gritted out a win over Israel Madrimov last August to earn a 154 pounds title, has voiced interest in moving up to divisions to face Alvarez, who would represent the most important opponent and payday yet for Crawford. Garcia recently told Fight Hub TV that his path crossed with Crawford's at last December's World Boxing Council convention in Hamburg, Germany, where he lauded him on all his successes to date. Crawford is one of the best boxers that I've seen, Garcia said.
Canelo is, fighting at 168. Crawford just moved up to 154, and he had some trouble with that in that fight. Now,
I told him, dude, You're a badass. You've been a badass. You don't always get the credit because of politics and boxing and favoritism here and there, but he truly does have the skills. He's a great boxer, and he's proven it multiple times, obviously. Still, Garcia questions how Crawford, who fought early in his career at lightweight, would deal with Alvarez, 168, where Canelo unified the class and has yet to lose a fight. Alvarez has met the likes of Gennady Golovkin, Caleb Plant, Dilly Joe Saunders, and Callum Smith, Jamal Charlo and Jaime Munguia or others at 168, which currently makes him the most experienced fighter in the class. Where do you plan on going? 1646, 65, 166 Garcia asked Canelo isn't going to come down to 160. Canelo isn't going to come down to 160. Maybe 166 maximum. If he accepts, I think Canelo wins that fight based on just the size and power. Now, skills-wise, I think Crawford is a better skilled fighter, but the difference in size will be the deciding factor, and that's why I'm not even a fan of that fight. Garcia said Crawford, a 37-year-old from Omaha, Nebraska, has accomplished all that he can in for divisions between 135 and 154 and acknowledges the financial lure of a Canelo fight for Crawford, who has never faced a marquee opponent. But he called on both Alvarez and Crawford to consider taking different career paths rather than facing each other as fight fans. I'd rather see Canelo move up and fight somebody like Artur Beterbiev or Dmitry Bivol again. Garcia said if he wanted to challenge himself, then he should move up to 175 and test himself against those guys. Not a smaller guy moving up, and the same thing with Crawford. He doesn't need to fight Canelo. He can just fight other guys at 154. But former WBO and WBC light welterweight champion Tim Bradley doesn't believe either of the two can derail the Thud train. Instead, he feels Crawford himself is the only man who can end his reign of terror over the sport.
I don't think we've seen anything like Terence Crawford. In all my years of boxing, I know that for a fact. I do study history. I've never seen anybody that has everything.
I think the only person that can beat Crawford is himself at this point. Bradley told Fight Hype recently, Madrimov is the champion and he must be recognized, but as far as skill for skill, Crawford is all day. I think he'll do well against Canelo. I really would be nervous if they were to fight. Hell yeah, because Canelo can punch, and all it will take is one big punch, but as long as he uses his legs, his speed, and his defense to get out of the way, then he should be able to beat Canelo. Interestingly, Bradley thinks Crawford can outbox Canelo just like Floyd Mayweather Jr. did 11 years ago when he beat the Mexican star when he was 22 years old fighting at a catchweight in 2013. Crawford is about to turn 37, has never fought above 147, and would be coming up in weight without being tried at 168 by the top contenders. More people would agree with Bradley if Crawford were interested in providing himself at 160 against the Killers and at 168 to show that he can hang. Do fans think Crawford is in a hurry to get a huge payday against Canelo and a golden parachute so that he can live in luxury in his retirement years? That is the problem. The fact that he fought against Jamal Charlo. Charlo comes in at 150 for said Tim Bradley to Fight Hype, reacting to Canelo Alvarez saying he's not interested in fighting welterweight Terence Crawford because there's nothing to gain from fighting him. Jamal moved up a couple of weight divisions to fight Canelo. He got in there and laid an egg. He just basically went in there and survived. He just felt like I'm not on Canelo's level. But the difference is the mentality of Crawford. He's a top pound-for-pound guy, said Bradley. Well, we don't know if Crawford will be any different from Jamal Charlo because he's not offering to test himself against some of the top super middleweights to give fans a reference point. If Crawford chose to prove himself against David Benavidez or David Morrell, you could feel confident that he just showed up for the payday against Canelo without trying to win, since Crawford has no intention of fighting anyone at 168 before fighting Canelo. You can only conclude this is about money and nothing else. Charlo was never a top pound-for-pound guy. The skill set of Crawford is what he brings, said Bradley. He's a fighter, man, and he's been after Canelo. He wants to fight Canelo, and I think he'll do well against Canelo. I really do.
I don't know, and I ain't gonna tell you why I would pick Terence Crawford, but it's part of the secret is the reason why I'm picking him to win the fight. So
is it like a skill set? Is it like a preparation thing, or?
Nope, I'm not.
Now am I worried about the fight? If they fight, heck yeah, because Canelo can punch. That dude can hit, and all it takes is one. He hits a guy like Terence one time, who's coming up 3 weight classes to be able to face him. However, just like we saw with Floyd Mayweather, he was able to outbox him in 2013 when Canelo was 22 years old and was able to outthink him. Bradley uses Mayweather as an example to justify his case that Crawford can give up huge size against Canelo and beat him, but we really don't know if that holds water. Canelo fought welterweight Mayweather at 154. It wasn't a case where Mayweather moved up to 168 and fought a prime version of Canelo, who was at full strength, but Bradley had more evidence in support of Crawford. I think Crawford has that ability to outbox him, outthink him, make him miss, and make him pay. Bradley, as long as he's not catching too many of them, and using his legs and his speed and his defense to get out of the way, should be able to beat Canelo.
Just Canelo, because he's been hit by bigger guys, he's not gonna, I don't want to say show him respect, but he's gonna be able to get, okay, I could walk through this, I could take a little risk and set up my traps, cut the ring off, dig to the body, and wear Terence down over the rounds.
I'm just gonna tell you like this.
Slow plodding forward, Canelo's got a good jab, good speed, and throws a lot of hooks. Crawford just gets away from all of those and gets underneath them. He should be able to beat Canelo. We're basing it on what Charlo was able to do. Charlo didn't do anything. He was scared, he didn't want to get knocked out. I don't blame him. He didn't want to end up on a sign. I understand that, but you said you wanted to be great. You weren't great that night. Crawford is willing to be great, and I think he can do it. Bradley, while Canelo hasn't paid much heed to the challenge, the fans surely did, who were divided on what would happen, but Sean Porter, who knows quite well what Crawford could do, says he is worried it's a tough fight to predict. No doubt. Just look at Crawford's dominant showing against an elite-level boxer like Errol Spence Jr. Regardless, speaking to Marcos Vegas from Fight Hub TV, Porter commented on Crawford climbing to divisions and the power difference that exists between the boxers playing into different weight classes. I am worried about him absorbing a Canelo punch, especially through the course of 12 rounds. Porter confessed Porter had an interesting analysis suggesting Canelo would eventually slow down as he had done in most of his recent fights, so it led Porter to believe Canelo would start the fight on the front foot and bang on Crawford and break him down before the late rounds, and he won't have the energy, while Crawford would. Even so, Sean Porter didn't seem convinced that he had the answer to who would emerge victorious, claiming, "But there are so many components that make a champion. It's a conversation that lasts and are easily. We talk about all the components that Terence Crawford has."
We do know this about Canelo. He's going to slow down, so I think if anything, Canelo would try to start fast and bang on him and break him down before he gets later. He still got that kind of steam, but, there's so many components that make a champion. There's so many components that make a great, a legend. It's just so much to go into.
Sean Porter, who was stopped by Crawford in the 10th round of their 147 title bout, disagrees that Canelo Alvarez has the edge here. He told Fight Hype that his former opponent has many benefits against an aging Canelo. You have to get your mind out of the space of who's stronger. Boxing isn't just about power, who's smarter, who's more athletic, who's faster, who's got more stamina, who's got more experience. The list goes on. You add all that up, and you think, wow, a lot is actually on Terence's side. I actually think that fight would be really interesting. I think that Canelo is not who he was 3 or 4 years ago. I wouldn't say he's declining fast, but his job is definitely not doing this well, and it hasn't done this well in 2 or 3 years. It isn't a fast fall, but Canelo's certainly not who he used to be. A fight between them would be interesting and definitely challenging. Porter might not be sure if Bud could pull off the win, but Crawford's other past opponent does. Since his fight against Crawford last year, the truth is that he hasn't fought in over a year, even though a rumored fight against Sebastian Fundora is being discussed for later this year regardless. Spence actually had the chance to trigger his rematch clause with Crawford but chose not to, whether it's because he needs more time to prepare for Crawford or has lost hope. Spence Jr. sure knows how formidable Terence Crawford is, according to a tweet from TalkSport editor Michael Benson. The truth is that he spoke on a possible fight between Crawford and Canelo. He said if Crawford wants to push himself to be great, let him try to be great. I'm with it. As for who he thinks will win, Spence's words exuded confidence in his previous opponent. I'd be going for Bud. I don't know if he'd win or lose, but if anybody can pull it off, he can pull it off, be added. And that's all for now. For the very best updates on news moments, events, and actions in the world of boxing, stay linked with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to turn on notifications to get notified when we drop quality content like this.